People have been telling you the same thing your whole life, in slightly different words. You're very perceptive. You're wise beyond your years. You always know what's going on with people. It's said as a compliment, and you take it as one, because what else do you do with a compliment? But sit with that phrase for a second. Wise beyond your years. Said about a child. Think about what actually has to happen for a 9-year-old to be described that way. Nothing good, usually, because a child who reads a room accurately learned to read it for a reason. Understanding wasn't a hobby, it was equipment. And here's the thing almost nobody says about this. It's real, it's not imaginary, and it's not something you should talk yourself out of. You genuinely do notice more than most people. Your read on a situation is usually right. You spot the inconsistency in a story before anyone else has finished listening to it. That's not modesty bait, it's an actual capability. But it has a shape. And the shape is the part worth understanding because it explains almost everything that's difficult about being you. Most people's minds were allowed to grow in whatever direction they wanted. Curiosity, boredom, obsession with dinosaurs, no particular job to do. Yours had a job. It had to answer one question over and over in the background all the time. What happens next, and how bad will it be? So it got extremely good at that. And in getting good at that, it got shaped, which is why your intelligence isn't evenly distributed. There are things you're frighteningly good at and things that seem like they should be easy and just aren't, and the split isn't random. You're excellent at reading people, forecasting how a situation will unfold, catching the small mismatch between what someone says and how they say it, planning 3 steps ahead, staying functional when everything is on fire. All of those are the same skill, prediction under threat, and the things that come hard, relaxing, playing, not knowing something and being fine with it, doing something badly for fun, being spontaneous without first running the scenario, sitting in a good moment without preparing for what might come after it. Every one of those requires safety. And safety was never the environment your mind trained in. So you're not lacking anything. You're specialized. Now here's the part that matters most, and it's the flaw in the equipment that almost nobody notices. Your prediction system is very accurate about danger, and systematically wrong about good outcomes. Think about it structurally. As a child, you got constant feedback about threat. You predicted trouble, trouble came, prediction confirmed. The model got sharper every time. But you got almost no feedback on the other side because when a situation was actually safe, nothing happened, and nothing teaches you nothing. So one half of the model trained for years and the other half never trained at all, which means when your gut says something is wrong, it's usually right. That's earned. But when your gut says this will probably go badly, that it's a bad idea to trust this person, that this good thing won't last, that half has almost no data behind it, it's not intuition. It's an untrained guess wearing intuition's clothes. And you treat both halves as if they're equally reliable because from the inside they feel identical. You can test this, honestly, and I'd encourage you to. Think back over the last year. How many times did you predict that something would go badly? And it did. And how many times did you predict it, brace for it, run the whole scenario in advance, and it just didn't happen? Most people who do this find the second number is much higher than they expected. That's the calibration error sitting in plain sight. There's probably a specific memory attached to this if you look for it, a moment where you understood something before you were supposed to. You worked out what was happening in the house before anyone explained it. You knew an adult was lying, calmly, without drama, the way you'd notice the weather. You could tell a relationship was ending months before it ended. And the strange part isn't that you knew. It's how unremarkable it felt at the time. You didn't experience it as insight. It was just information, sitting there, obvious. It shapes your working life in a way that looks like ambition from outside. You gravitate toward roles where this skill is worth something. High pressure, unpredictable, complicated people, situations that need someone who can see round corners, and you're genuinely good there. But notice what happens when things go calm. Instead of relief, there's a low, restless flatness. A quiet job with no problems in it doesn't feel like peace to you. It feels like something is being missed, so you find a problem, or you take on someone else's, because a mind trained on threat gets uneasy when, and it costs something in your closest relationships, in a way that's hard to explain to the other person. You see the argument forming 3 days before it happens, so you start managing it early, adjusting, pre-solving, heading it off. Sometimes that's genuinely useful. Sometimes you're solving a problem that was never going to occur and all they experience is being handled. You also lose surprise almost entirely. You spot the plan, guess the gift, sense the news before it's said. People who love you find that quietly deflating, and you can't switch it off to spare them. Then there's rest, which is the hardest one. Because resting properly means dropping the forecast, and dropping the forecast feels, at a physical level, like taking your hands off the wheel. So, holidays make you strangely anxious for the first 2 days. You keep checking things that don't need checking. And there's a pattern a lot of people with this wiring recognize. You don't get ill during the crisis. You get ill the week after it ends, when the system finally stands down and the body sends the bill. There's another cost, and it's quieter. Because this kind of mind is so useful, it gets rewarded, and the reward keeps it running. You're the one people bring problems to. You're steady in a crisis. You notice things. You're the reliable one, the one who saw it coming, the one who handles it. And every time that gets praised, the system gets confirmed. The vigilance is working. Keep it on. So you end up in a strange place where the thing that exhausts you is also the thing you're valued for, which makes it almost impossible to put down. And there's a version of this in childhood that's worth naming plainly. A lot of people with this kind of mind were praised as children for exactly the wrong reasons, for being mature, easy, sensible, no trouble at all. Adults said it warmly, but what they were praising was a child doing emotional work that children shouldn't have to do. Being the one who read the room, being the one who kept the peace, being the one who knew when not to ask. That's not maturity. That's competence developed under pressure, and it deserves to be called what it is. I want to be careful here, because this can be taken two wrong ways. The first is turning it into a wound you carry around. Everything sharp about me is damage. That's not accurate, and it isn't useful. Whatever the origin, the capability is yours now. It's not on loan. The second is the opposite, refusing to look at it because you don't want to think of yourself as having been affected, which is understandable, and also means the calibration error keeps running unchecked for another 20 years. The honest position is between them. This is a genuine skill, built under conditions you didn't choose, that works brilliantly in one context and misfires in another. It's also worth separating two things that get confused constantly, including by you. Being right is not the same as being at peace. You can be the most accurate person in the room and still be the most tired one in it because accuracy costs energy and nobody reimburses you for it. A lot of people with this wiring quietly believe that if they just understand enough, they'll finally feel safe, that there's a level of comprehension that ends the vigilance. There isn't. Understanding is genuinely useful, but it was never the thing that made a room safe. Safety came from the room, not from how well you read it. That's why you can know exactly what's going on and still feel exactly as braced as before. So the useful question isn't how do I stop being like this? It's what is this aimed at? Because the intelligence is fixed. That's yours. What's adjustable is where it points. Right now, a large amount of it is probably still pointed at threat detection in an environment that doesn't require it. You're running professional-grade forecasting on a Tuesday evening where nothing is happening. That's not paranoia. It's an expensive system doing its job in a room that no longer has the problem it was built for. Two things help, and they're both concrete. The first is aiming it at something that has no stakes at all. Learn something completely useless, a skill nobody's watching, a subject with no consequences, a game you're allowed to be bad at. That sounds like a soft suggestion, and it isn't. It's the only way a mind like yours gets to practice thinking without threat attached. It has genuinely never done that, and it needs to learn that analysis can be a pleasure rather than a defense. The second is correcting the calibration deliberately, because it won't correct itself. When the forecast arrives, this will go badly, they'll let you down, this won't last. Don't argue with it. Just write it down somewhere, with a date. Then check it later. You're not trying to think positively, you're collecting the missing data. After a few months, you'll have something the system has never had, actual evidence about how often the bad prediction was right. And a small third thing, which is more of a permission than a technique. You're allowed to not know what's going to happen. That state, genuine uncertainty without a prepared scenario, feels dangerous to you specifically, and to most people, it's just called Tuesday. It isn't the absence of intelligence. It's what intelligence looks like when it isn't standing guard. There's one last thing worth saying, and it's the part I suspect nobody has ever said to you directly. You didn't earn this by being naturally gifted, and you didn't get it for free. You built it early, in conditions that required it, and it worked. You're here, you can read a room, you can hold things together when they fall apart, and a lot of that traces back to a child who had to figure things out faster than a child should. That deserves acknowledgement rather than a compliment about being wise. And the thing about equipment built for one room is that it doesn't have to stay there. You can take a mind that spent years forecasting what might go wrong and point it at a problem you actually chose. The precision doesn't disappear when the threat does. It just finally gets to be used for something other than staying safe.